Welcome to another episode of Tres Leches Radio. Represent 1/3 of the family. It's yours truly, Radimus. Gentlemen, how are you? Say hello.
Oh man, it's Be Kissed tonight.
I can't do the last.
Welcome back.
Renz, you're not chic. You're not.
No,
you're not Renz Luch.
I'm the ghost. I mean, so the ghost. I mean, tonight.
All right, so yeah, welcome back from everyone's unofficial vacation. I think we're all like on our separate things going on, right? It's probably been a good like 30 days at this point, right?
Yeah.
Been a little
brushing
bit.
the dust off, man.
Yeah, see, even we got to get our summertime break. You know what I'm saying? Recharge, reboot, and come back with a fresh, hard-hitting episode. As always, for those of y'all who follow us, those of y'all who might be new to us, we can be found on YouTube at Tres Leches Radio. You can also stream us at Apple Music, Amazon Music, and Spotify. B-Stacks, take it away.
Yes, sir. And for those who have caught the Verzuz episode, we're doing a special episode tonight, and we're going to air it as soon as possible. We're going to cover the LOX Dipset clash of mid-90s, 2000s Titans. You know what I mean?
This is the battle of the Timberland boot.
Yes.
New York City on the line. The belt. Before we get into the actual analytical stuff and our reflections and feelings, what was you guys like initial thoughts when the lineup was introduced?
Yo, I actually thought that when I saw it, when you think about both crews, right? LOX, Dipset, I remember thinking it felt a little lopsided. And for context, I've always been more LOX than Dipset. Even during Dipset's run, I was never really, like big on them like that. Outside of certain things, I mostly a Cameron guy up to a certain point until he got the computers putin'. But I thought it was a little lopsided because Dipset, if we all remember, right, if we're just recalling history, right, Dipset was a literal, I know this word gets overused, but they were a movement in their era. In those early 2000s, they were influencing music and even fashion. Like they made wearing pink cool. You know what I mean? Like they had their sound with the Heat Makers, even though they were signed to the Rock isn't why they blew up. If anything, they brought more attention to the Rock, in my opinion. And then even afterwards, they had their, they had their, their solo albums and all that. So I thought, compared to the LOX, obviously the LOX, were with Bad Boy, were Rough Riders. They definitely had their run. But if you were just comparing movements, of just these two New York crews, regardless of whose music you prefer, Dipset was bigger. On paper, Dipset is the bigger act. So I thought going into this that it was a little lopsided, even though I prefer music from the LOX and even them as individual members. So I don't know if you guys felt it was lopsided at all or whatever.
Not so much lopsided. I still felt going in that Dipset had the edge because of the move. I didn't think it was going to be like, oh, this is a bad matchup for the LOX. I looked at it like, and that's how we looked at it also as on the versus perspective up until last night, was that it was all about your hits. Not so much your B-sides or your mixtape classic, but your hits. So if we were talking about pure hits perspective, even though LOX had stuff, but LOX had stuff from a lot of hits will also be features. Them featuring not so much their own material, whether it was with Nori, whether it was with Pun, Puff, and so forth.
Yeah,
so I was looking at
Dipset had more.
So exactly. So in that perspective, I'm saying we're looking at how Verzuz was laid out prior to last night. I felt LOX were in a disadvantage, obviously at that point. I thought it was going to be a good matchup, but I just felt like if we're talking about hits, they were going to be kind of lacking if we were just talking about pure hits, not from features.
Yeah, I thought Dipset was a dangerous, definitely a worthy candidate. I thought they were a dangerous candidate because of the hits and the girl records. We just kind of forgot that like the LOX has a lot of stuff. The catalog is very deep with features, and they play to their strength. I don't because you guys remember when Jay and Fabulous went, Jadakiss was very clear that like the Bad Boy songs that I threw out there, like he did get a little greedy at the end, but he's like, I wrote these verses. He's like, even last night, Santana's like, yo, where's Diddy at? I ain't know his verse in Diddy. And he's like, he said, I wrote that. That's my song.
Diddy actually posted in the I don't know if you sent that, right?
The Benjamins, yeah.
He said he wrote my verse, yeah.
Yeah, so that's fair. That's fair. And features, features have been going on in Verzuz since it started. You know what I mean? So it just depends on, I guess, how the artist wants to cultivate, their stage presence. But I just thought Dipset was going to do a lot more than what they did last night. And so, moving into that, we won't go round for round per se, but just to, start off the interchange, the LOX came in with, FU, hard, beginning. I'll be honest with you, a dope song, but, the way they performed it and just they were just ready, the aggression. The Dipset counter with "I'm Ready" had no chance. And I'd say the truth, sonically, I probably like "I'm Ready" better if I'm just putting the CD on or MP3 back then. I'm probably playing "I'm Ready" by Dipset more. But I thought they came in strong way. That was an easy W that established the tone early in round one.
Yeah, I'll agree. And honest, I know we're gonna go song by song, but I just felt based off that energy alone, and we all go to a lot of shows, obviously, pre-COVID. It's all about your stage presence, energy, and you had LOX come in with "Fuck You," and then you had Dipset come on, with their rebuttal, and it was flat. You know what I mean? There was no energy there. That was probably the wrong song to do after that.
You know what though? The thing is, I think "I'm Ready" is a perfect starter song, but it didn't counter their energy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And it comes to the fact that LOX came ready for war. Literally, they came ready. Dipset almost came in nonchalant, thinking, because you think about when we first looked at the first couple of verses that first started, in the pandemic, it was more people just playing their tracks. Might did a little ad lib stuff.
But they weren't even in the same room. They weren't even
in the same room.
And we see how it evolved. Even when we look at X and Snoop, them start performing. So now this is literally a performance. Not so much I'm going to play my track, you're going to play mine. I'm actually going to perform. And like, Kiss said, like, y'all rapping over your vocals. So even when, "I'm Ready" came on, it's almost like, okay, you could tell LOX already had their stuff ready, rehearsed. You're already hearing Dipset rapping over vocals. Or not even rapping, already forgot it and say, well, the vocals are going to kind of save me. And that kind of turned me off at that point. So I had to clearly give it to the LOX regardless, just off of that alone, and all the other factors.
Right, you had FU as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, I had like the first probably 4 rounds to the LOX. But to even go back before the LOX hit it with FU, look at when they came out on stage. The LOX came out as a unit with a song. The DJ was with them. They were all in sync before they even hit that first song, right? The Dipset, Jones and Jewels came out. Cam came out later. I don't even think they had a song ready. They were just disjointed from the beginning. Yeah. And to me, that was an omen of like what was going to happen for them the rest of the night. When you look at it in hindsight. So, I can tell you right now, like the first 4 rounds, there was one maybe tie joint that I would have maybe gone back and been like, all right, let me remove my preference aside. Who really should win this round? I want to say it's like round 3 or 4, but for the most part, like I had the LOX going, first round, second, third, fourth. Then after a while, like we saw, even the competition wasn't keeping track of the rounds. Like, usually the day after we get from different publications, oh, these were all the rounds. These were all the songs they went with. These were the bonus. There was none of that today because it just went off the rails, right? This is the first verses where that happens. But yes, long story short, LOX is probably my answer for like the next 3 or 4.
Unfortunately, it's probably my answer for everything. I'm going to be blunt just because of really the performance aspect. I think there were songs on there I could say, hey, if I was listening to them just for audio purposes, and say, hey, this was sonically a better song or a catchy song or whatever. But to me, I'm looking at the performance aspect of it. And you had one group ready and one group not. And I think on top of that, you have to remember, LOX were a group first and foremost before the solo acts. Dipset to me was a bunch of solo guys who had a movement and said, hey, we can also do a group thing. So even as far as Jadakiss, Styles, and even Sheik to a lesser extent, having, you know, solid solo careers, they're still group first before anything. Versus Dipset, to me, they're a solo then group, and I think that really showed, you know, last night.
I do think there is one difference though. Even though they started off with individuals, they actually grew up together in Harlem. And the one thing I would say is if we had gotten Dipset from the early 2000s energy, it would have been a much different story we're telling. You could like we're all saying, their chemistry was not there. The LOX was. Like, I don't think they've ever had like an issue, a fallout, or nothing in their career. Down to their DJ, they were all in sync. And everyone was saying how the LOX, they could ad-lib each other. They knew each other's lines. Dipset, they actually, you guys saw, they were forgetting their own lines.
Yeah.
Like, actually, and like that only gets emphasized more when you have the backing track that actually has your vocals. So when they're forgetting the lines or they're jumping a bar too soon. Like I saw that. If we had gotten Dipset when they were in their run, we're having a different conversation today. They would have prepared. They would have had better jokes for Jadakiss, who roasted them all night. It would be a different one, but that's not what happened. What happened is what we saw last night, the slaughter.
Yeah. You gotta remember too, LOX grew up together too. So I mean, they formed in high school.
Oh, I know they did. I'm saying that Dipset.
You're saying that Dipset has the same advantage.
Dipset's not like Slaughterhouse where.
Oh yeah, that's what I was saying.
Dipset,
but, I mean, as far as their mentality,
the LOX came in as a crew. Cam had to be the launch pad for them to, to form.
They cohesively, Dipset was a little disjointed, and you could obviously, I'm gonna say from the first like 4 rounds, like the tone was established. I didn't have like Dipset getting a win until actually I took Santana's Town over the D-Block anthem.
That was my tie, Brandon. That was my tie that I was gonna go back to because I prefer Mighty D-Block, but I remember like both songs hit, but I think back then Santana's Town was a little bit more popular.
A little more. I
will say that.
Yeah, a little more. And I peaked Dipset strategy earlier on. They went with the more Jewels heavy songs, and then they let Jim work, and then Cam kind of was like at the end. But by the, Cam had that beast chair. Jade was like, "Yo, your man, you better get him off that beast chair. he needs to get to work."
It never, and it would have made sense if they had strategized more. It makes sense for Cam's hits to be at the end. He had like, for the most part, he has like, if it's 20 rounds, those last 5 got to be a Cam hits and maybe like, Dipset anthem. But yeah, like what we're talking about right now, at this point in the competition, we're like 4 or 5 rounds in. We think there might be a chance that this may not go off. We think it'll still be a competition, even though, the LOX are jumping ahead early at this point. And then I'll let you continue because it eventually does go off the rails.
Yeah, I mean, the LOX go way in. And I think this is where I came to this idea today where like you have like blue collar groups and you have like white collar groups. And I think this is where like the LOX they're like lunch pail, hard hat guys. Dipset is not so much so. I think them being too cool, not wanting to sweat. When you needed your franchise player to step in like round 4 or 5. They still played it cool. And then I get down big in the middle of this thing, and it's looking kind of embarrassing for you guys. So to you guys, I think we possibly when it just got ugly, I'm gonna say round 8 when Dipset goes on a melody with 3 records. 357 Pull It, which I was my jaw dropped when I heard the beat. When I heard that,
they just did the beat, but they robbed us of it, Brandon.
They didn't even do it.
They didn't even do it. I was screaming when I heard it.
That could have started leaning towards them a little. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
God,
and it's a
wanted for them.
That you could have got it back a little bit. And then Just Fire, the rock Cam joint, and then they played 24 Hours to Live, and that one song outweighed all 3. That's why I'm like, this is over.
and honestly, I had to look up some of the songs. So, like I said, I was never big on Dipset. So I'm looking at it, like you said, it is around like round 9. They do G's Up, Harlem, Bird Game. My thing is, Jim Jones, I feel like went into like his B-sides, or at least what I would consider B-sides, like so early on that like the crowd didn't respond to it. Like even Jadakiss was like, "Hey guys, what was the name of that one?" You know, he was joking on them. Like, what was that? Because I think they left out songs. That's another thing. Dipset left out songs. Jewels had hits that could have still been played in that medley. You could have replaced 3 or 4 of them. You know, Jewels had, you know, like that whisper song, the Clockwork, the you know, stuff from when he was starting his run.
Wow.
And he didn't play them.
Yeah.
And at all. And instead you got like some of the, what's that, Bird Gang stuff or Purple City. I'd never known like all the different names. Yeah. And I think they just went with the wrong songs. And yeah, Brandon, I agree with you. At this point, it goes off the rails because you just got the advantage. They could have gotten momentum back because I don't even think the LOX were expecting them to play like at least 3-4 songs back to back. They could have got it back there and they didn't. And I don't know how it works. Like, did they, you know, work with their DJ and say, hey, play this? Or was the DJ, you know what I mean? I don't know what the strategy was there. You know,
I feel like Dipset was so disjointed that they had one game plan and then couldn't adjust. You know, and where the LOX just came in, we're going to go down your throat. Like, I mean, they did ends and started something song 4. I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna be that type of night.
Yo, and you were talking about adjustments because, like you saying, Dipset couldn't make adjustments. When Joel's like, oh, y'all don't got song for the ladies, and Kiss like, all right, here we go. Like,
oh my God,
he got his teeth knocked out again. Oh my God,
that was the second omen. Like, Joel, you should have just shut up.
He just gave him that's what he hit him with. He hit him with his own
I think then they went on a melody for like 6 songs of just like Grammy radio women hits. I'm like, oh my God.
Yo, I remember they did. Oh, you know what he kicked off, and this blew my mind when he said, "Oh, we don't have songs for the girl." What does he come out with? Ride or Die Chick. Ride or Die Chick. Yeah, then they go into the Honey remix, which I haven't heard. Then they go Knock Yourself Out. I see, and then I forget like where it stops because I see the next songs are like I Get High, All for the Love. I don't know where it stops, but just those chick songs alone, it was just like Joel's, you got enough, you can't say anything. He just said you're wrong, and here's why.
Yeah, give me your do-rag headband.
You saw he knocked it off his head, right?
Yeah. Oh, and the Chic, I forgot about that Chic one. That joint he had for the ladies.
I like that Good Love. That was a nice one that, you know, he released that like independently I think if that had came out in that era and he was like on Rough Riders still, it would have gotten more play because that was a really good song.
Very Koch was a Koch joint. Yes, that was a very good record.
Yeah, he was in his indie grind. Yeah. And actually, man, you guys got me looking at the list now again.
What were some ones that, you know, some rounds that were like interesting to you guys? Because, like, you know, at this point, the LOX is like they ran away with the competition. But are there any tracks that like Dipset pulled out and you're like, oh, okay, like you feeling good, or anything with LOX just continue to do that made you feel good?
I would say one thing I think, and this would be more LOX, and I think more so with Chic, because I think Chic's always kind of forgotten at times. I don't think he gets just due, but I wish he did Pina Colada. You know, he did the Kiss My Ass Goodbye, but I wish he did Pina Colada because that was still during the Rough Riders heyday, you know, especially with the pun. You know,
Fat Joe in attendance.
Fat Joe in attendance.
That'd have been nice.
That would have been nice, especially because, you know, everybody's gonna look at Chic as the weak link, and I think that, you know, Kiss My Ass Goodbye was a banger. I think if he pulled that one out, you know, because especially when you had Styles come through off the Violator, which that was I always wish that was, you know, released on the radio with him and Nori, but I felt like if he pulled that out, it would have been just more of an onslaught.
Which one you said, Pina Colada or Kiss Your Ass?
Pina Colada.
Oh, my bad. Okay, I'm hearing two different things.
I don't know, Zoe. I don't.
Kiss Your Ass. All right, go ahead.
I disagree, bro. I think Kiss Your Ass Goodbye was the onslaught. I think Pina Colada just would have been like, we just having fun on y'all now.
Well, yeah.
You know what it is too? It's when they pulled out Kiss Your Ass. At this point, Jadakiss has roasted them, and they knew how to set up each song. They would talk their shit and then be like, oh, and then you could kiss your, like, they set it up.
Everything.
Each song. Like, you know how a good album is sequenced well? Their song selections were also sequenced well, and they set them up with those little verbal interludes, minus the, you know, like the guys on stage taking up time and stuff like that, which was trash. They set up their songs. They knew, man. I don't know how long they spent, but
it was picture perfect. But to piggyback off what you said, they were, in the beginning, they were doing a New York thing. You go first. And then what Kiss was like, yo, Cam, you live in Miami.
Yeah.
Then,
oh yeah.
That was
then,
like one.
I mean, and then Fuck You comes on. Like, what?
I've never seen Killer Cam ever prior to yesterday. I've never seen him lose like a shit talk fest. He has done it to Jay, Nas, 50 Cent, 50 of all people, who's like the king troll. He embarrassed him like on radio. Yes. I've never seen Killer Cam lose until last night. In that kind of arena, I thought him and Kiss, once I saw Kiss was doing it, I remember thinking, I was like, yo, Kiss might be on the receiving end of something, and it never even happened.
Never happened, bro.
Yeah, Cam, just him alone with that, never had it.
Well,
never had it.
It was on that, round 11, round 13, Cameron goes into like a freestyle because he's like, oh, all right, because Jada was on them about the bars, like, yo, we don't got bars, right. And it wasn't disrespectful. I mean, this is when you have the room, right? The room just wasn't with Dipset. So Cam tries to do a little acapella. He probably got maybe half a bar off, and then he just he went on to I believe it was a collective Dipset record, but that was how
I think he had to jump into Oh Boy after that. He had to jump into something.
It was something heavy.
He had to jump into a big one, and I think it was Oh Boy. But Cam was essentially getting booed. I didn't think that was possible.
Me neither. So that's how I guess the ropes they had these dudes.
But you know what it is, because they controlled LOX controlled the game.
So did you want to wait? Now you said Pina Colada. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Oh no, I'm just saying the LOX controlled the game. And also they made it to the point where they could drop mixtape tracks.
It don't matter
on it as a round and win. And at that point, Cam's trying to mimic that. They played their game. They tried to play their game. And who has the blueprints of the game? Like the LOX did it. They set that out, and it never worked for them. What was another obvious one that they left out, that Jewels left out? Like, if they're gonna do the big feature, as I like to call them, cheat codes, why didn't Jewels play? He had a smash with Chris Brown. I could run it. How did he leave that one out? Like, if they're gonna play Honey with Mariah Carey, you reply with a Chris Brown track, with that one.
I think they were so miscombobulated. Like, what they did was what we thought Meek was going to do with the whole Drake thing. Drake, excuse me, when Drake and Meek had their feud, Drake drug him out to the club. Like, yo, I can't go to the street, so I'm gonna take you to the club where you can't go. And he played in his best arena and Meek just kind of fell for it, where I believe it was the same thing where Cam was he kind of got Cam out of his rhythm. So now they're trying to out gangster D Block. You can't do that. Yeah.
They're literally named after a prison section.
You can't out gangster them, bro. They can't out flashy Dipset, but they forgot that. They just got lost.
Yeah,
because even when they tried to out gangster them, when Jim started talking about the blood ties and so,
they shouted out Max B.
Right.
Yo, they shouted out Max B and Jim Jones, and I think Jim Jones actually got tight over that one when he was like, shout out to Max B. I was like, ooh, it seemed like it was gonna get tense there. Yo, what was Renz? You kind of I noted this here, but when you mentioned Pina Colada, what's another one Cam could have done, and we would have been talking about it for an easy 5 minutes? His verse on Fantastic Four. Woo! Why didn't he do that? Yeah. Why didn't he do What Means the World? Why didn't he even do? He could have even thrown in earlier in the round. In the early rounds, he could have did Horse and Carriage. That's Horse and Carriage. Where Absolutely. Are these songs? You have rounds here.
It's funny you mentioned that, because when me and Brandon, we saw Cam, it was a pre-show. It was with the Heineken room series, but case in point, Cam was doing songs pretty much from all the Dipset era. He didn't touch anything like SDE, Confessions Under Fire. He ain't touched none of that. I'm thinking hey man, you have such a extensive catalog. Why are you robbing? Especially your core fans, pre-Dipset. Why are you not even touching these hits? So
play NBC.
I'm almost not surprised.
NBC. Yeah, he was underwhelming live. Yeah, he was underwhelming live. Yeah, he was underwhelming live. And I'm gonna give my round where I really stuff stood out to me was the J.B.I.G. freestyle, which is a mixtape joint. You know what I mean?
The Who Shot
Jadakiss
Ya? When
Who Shot Ya
came on, yeah.
Who Shot Ya? This is early. This is round 4 or 5.
Yeah,
the fact that, bro, the fact that he can recall a mixtape freestyle.
Yeah,
and he's like, oh, everybody be quiet. He wants, y'all need to shut up, put my voice up, turn that beat on, and it's just like, man, I never seen Jadakiss. I mean, I go back to the days where him and Beanie were going at it, and he performed the diss record live in Philly. I know, his shit with 50 Cent. All the highlights, man. This was like when Black Thought went on Hot 97 and it went viral. This was like
13-minute, yeah.
This was like the first time I heard Ether. I felt like I was like 15 again. I'm like, yo, Jadakiss is just going insane right now. Like, I mean, oh man, he was just in demon mode.
Yeah, he showed the spitters are in New York. I like that he did that. It's a New York centric thing. The Mecca. They kept saying it, right? This is the Mecca. This is the Mecca. Yeah. And they highlighted it with bars, stage performance, the DJ, just everything, showmanship, all of that. They couldn't have picked a better stage to do it, and Dipset couldn't have picked a worse stage to drop the ball.
Word. Yeah. And we'll move on because our plan was to just kind of go round for round, but we're not going to do all that because
there aren't any rounds after like round 9, right?
Yeah. LOX in 5.
Well, let me ask you guys this before you go, because this is something that came to me like later in the day. If this was just pure LOX, meaning you can't cheat code anything, their material, LOX albums, D Block material, Dipset, their solos versus their and Dipset material, right? Like, do you think it balances out, removing showmanship, right? Because clearly they dropped the ball. But do you think that it's a little bit more of a competition on paper if they're just doing their cruise music, none of the other stuff, the big features or anything, just the stuff that they put on their albums? Do you think this becomes a little bit more even?
I think for sure. I think so, but that wasn't the case. That and they could have probably maybe gone either way. And we're just saying strictly LOX D Block material, strictly Dipset material. Outside, let's say a couple solo joints minus features. I think you might have a closer battle. But then
assuming
again,
they prepare,
right? Assuming they prepare, we could have still had literally the same results. At that point.
So what you saying? They can't do the Benjamins?
I'm saying, yeah, like you can't do something that was, and that was another thing they benefited from, which is not like a strike against them, right? When they were on Bad Boy, Biggie, Puffy, and Mace, who were the multi-million sellers, all had them on there. And I understand what he's saying. I wrote this, I should be able to perform it. I don't disagree. But what I'm saying is if they were just doing, if Jadakiss is doing stuff from his solos and the LOX albums, like if the LOX are just pulling from their solo albums and the LOX albums, Dipset's pulling from essentially what they did last night, their solos and just Dipset material, do you think it's a little bit more even at that point? Assuming they're both going to come and bring their A game, is it a harder match to call?
I think I'm going to still say the same outcome happens because
like a slaughter,
we got exposed. I think it's still because I think we got exposure last night to what an MC is and what a rapper is.
A rapper is.
Jim and Santana are rappers. They're entertainers. Cam, he made his own bet a long time ago to be more of a rapper and less of an MC. He has the MC skill set. Yeah. But Sheik, Luch, Styles P, Jadakiss are MCs, and I believe they're already up there as far as a group. So whatever they have to do under their own umbrella, you take out 24 Hours to Live, you take out Band for TV. I think those guys still get the job done because they're masters of ceremony.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think it would be a little bit more evenly matched. It would just come down to who prepared, right? We now know how the LOX can prepare. If Dipset prepares, I think it's a little bit more even. I'm more of a LOX guy. So I'm more interested in what they got to play. Like I said, most of my rounds would go to them. I think it'd be a little bit closer because there's certain handicaps, if you will, that are now like they're gone. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I was just curious. I thought about that like much later. But yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's a good question, man. I mean, for wrapping this thing up, you know, obviously, like one of the major takeaways was just Jadakiss's impact on the entire night. And you know, what do you guys like? You know, reflections and thoughts. You know, after viewing the verses and just the whole nine.
I think, and it goes back to the Fabulous and Jadakiss. I think it makes you appreciate Jadakiss more as an artist overall. I think we all know about skill set, but we all how we talk about over the years, him not having that defining classic album. But when you look at everything else he has done for the game and his stage presence and everything else, like this guy's a monster.
Absolutely.
You know, he has dealt with some of the biggest heavyweights from Jay to 50. And Beans and held his ground, with or without the crib. And just his presence alone, like he really dictated that whole versus. Yeah,
he said, "I'm the transmission." He's like, "They're riding with me."
Yeah.
He literally said, "I'm the transmission."
So it made me appreciate him more as an artist, and and to the point where I know some people like he's probably not in my top 5, probably not my top 10, but it made me now understand, or not so much understand, but kind of say, hey, I get where you're coming from when somebody says, hey, Jada is my top 5. That's off some of the stuff we have seen within the last year he has done, on the Verzuz platform itself.
Yeah. What about you, Ray the Kiss?
I can't do that shit at all. No. Nah, man. You know what? It made me appreciate the LOX as a crew. I would always pick the LOX over Dipset any day. I was actually listening to some of like the later I was listening to one of the later Jadakiss albums today. Like I said, you're like happy that the LOX is from New York, that Jadakiss and all like that they are like, that the East Coast gets to rep them. I thought about like the flip side of it too. It's just like, all right, the LOX murdered that. Like Renzo was saying, how he doesn't have like Jadakiss specifically doesn't really. I don't think any of them as individuals actually, as far as the LOX, like have a classic album. But like, and this is a question that like I've seen before. It's just like, but I still think Cam still has a better solo catalog than Jadakiss, even though Jadakiss I think is a much better rapper. Dipset, nothing really changed for me. I was already not really big on them. They put that kind of performance out yesterday. I'm not running back any Dipset related like I don't feel inspired to really listen to their stuff. I'm in a Jadakiss vibe right now. So I mean, I think that was probably the best verses I've ever seen. If Dipset had came more prepared, would it have been as entertaining? I don't know. And I would say, yeah, that was it. So I mean, like all my props is to the LOX.
Word. And yeah, with Jay the Kiss, Jay-Z is usually like the person that we compare Biggie to, like, with styles and things of that nature. But I think like the person who we've been overlooking this whole time is been right in front of us. The heir apparent, the little brother, I don't think it comes anywhere closer than Jadakiss when you're talking about Notorious B.I.G. And I can even say that Kiss might have, evolved further than Biggie did, because we just didn't get a chance to see Biggie do more. But he's just a precise lyrical assassin, and I mean he took over so much that Styles P was like, all right, I'm gonna just be like the second string QB over here. Like I don't even have to like step in and kill you. Like when Styles P did I Get High, like I don't know, like round 26 or something. I'm like, oh my Lord, I forgot about this song.
Like my life wasn't you. Like so Styles had,
he had stuff. He had anchors that he didn't even have to use. Like he had bullets he didn't even have to go to, because the main man, the front man, held it down. He said, "Yo, I got it. It's on my back. Let's go home."
Yeah, it's just a shame Kiss couldn't. Like, I wish Kiss had like this like a comparable skill set with Biggie. I just feel like he doesn't have the albums, for it. But he has a skill set. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he's rhymed alongside Biggie more than held his own. But I wish for somebody of his caliber. Like right now, if he was to mention he's going to do another album, I would like to see him do an album like a one rapper, one producer type album. I don't know who I would pick at this point, but I would love for him to just do like a focused project because his skill set, part of the reason he doesn't get mentioned in certain ways, I do believe, is because his albums don't completely hit the mark. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And somebody like him has that ability. Styles has like double the albums as Jadakiss at this point right now. I think he dropped one within the last like month, actually. Like they're all still putting out albums. I think they both have more. Styles and Sheik have more solos than Jadakiss. I think Jadakiss doesn't have to put out as much because he's the major draw. But yeah, man.
Well, you know what? I'll pose this question before we roll out.
All right.
Because I've heard this happen. You know, it's been talked about in sports. You have like stars who are like 1As, but they serve better as a 1B. You know, is Jadakiss a star who serves better in a group setting where he's not, you know, called on to be the main provider every single second of a song? You know, does he fare better in a group scenario? You know, just throwing that out to y'all, you know.
Ideally, you might slightly be able to make that that thing, because like for example, I think that second LOX album is better than any Jadakiss album, maybe with the exception of like Kiss of Death, which is my personal favorite.
Love Kiss of Death, yeah.
I don't know, because like ideally, yeah, but at the same time, he's 1A material. I don't look at him like let's say like a Rasheed Wallace, where he had all the skill set, but fare better in a group setting, in a team setting. Like Kiss had the architect to be 1A period. You know, I think the problem with Kiss, I think a lot of artists, especially in the early 2000s, was that they were trying to hit too many different lanes once they were already on a mainstream label. At that point, he was trying to say, okay, I got to get a little bit of the soft love, I got to get a little bit of this, versus purely working off his strengths. I think he worked off his strengths. I don't even think we had this conversation or comment. I just think he tried to please everybody, you know, way too much, you know, over and over. Kiss of Death was probably maybe kind of fell into form, but then after that, it was, you know, back to the, you know, the regular scenarios at that point.
I'll say I do think, Brandon, I'll still say the group setting may be true, because some of those big hits last night came from the Bad Boy albums that, you know, Puff Daddy and the Family, like Biggie, when he was a feature on a Biggie album, 24 Hour Slip, a feature on a Posse Cut on Mace's album, you know, the LOX, the Wild Out, the Ride or Die Chick group setting. You know what I'm saying? He has his hits and his solo, but a lot of the power punches came from like his group setting. You just wish that what you get from him when he's in that group setting, you wish would be a 1-to-1 quality output in his solo material, and it's not. So I think there's validity in that question, that maybe the group thing, to a certain extent, I don't know that I like fully all the way, but I think there's validity to
for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Well, man, you know, the ultimate winner was hip hop in New York City last night, man. You know, it was, you know, even though Dipset took the L, hey, if you're gonna lose to a performance like that, man, that's actually nothing to be ashamed about.
Yeah, they didn't lose to like a BS performance. They lost to somebody, like a crew that came ready.
Right.
Yeah, no, that was good. Oh, I will say one thing about the Verzuz. I actually don't like when they say it's a celebration of music, and I say this. It's titled Verzuz. Versus literally means one against the other. It's a competition, you know, like I think that actually takes the fun away from having these conversations and who won that round? Who won that round? You know, so that's just my personal thing. I think it's an ego thing to not, you know, to respect the artist. It is a celebration of music, but that's not all it is. Like, because what we saw last night wasn't just a celebration. People were coming for each other's throats.
We saw Thanos.
I
remember we talked about that in the Snoop and DMX thing, but looking at this, now this is pure Thanos, Avengers. I got the gauntlet snap. You know,
I had tweeted that. Yes, that's exactly what I said. I said, I was like, they found the Infinity Gauntlet, and then I forget what song they said, and I was just like, and I retweeted myself. I said, I was like, and they just snapped their fingers. My God. So I'm glad. Honestly, they have Verzuz has a tough act to follow now, because this one was too entertaining.
Yeah. On that note, man, you know, it's Be the Kiss Rather kiss.
Lorenzo kiss. Everybody kiss.
It's a kiss celebration, man. MVP, man. 62. What was that meme? 62 points.
62 point, 18 rebounds. 35
I saw the
steals.
tweets. You know, I don't know my basketball references, but they said he was Kobe dropping like 80 or something like
Yo,
that.
did you see
like,
the photo that he mimicked Kobe? Like with the,
Oh man, it was great. It was a video that Dame.
Photo.
Yeah, when he did the video, yeah.
That Dame Grease. That Dame Grease did. Yeah.
Yeah, so the honorable Jadakiss Muhammad.
Word.
Yo,
and
they're going on tour together. Actually.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. That's a good
prop is part of it too.
That's a good.
Saying.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah.
It's a good plug on that. Yeah, and to the kids, the younger people out there, you know, just because you got on like leather pants and a bunch of chains and like bandanas and stuff and nice sunglasses, that doesn't mean you won. You still got to do stuff. You still got to perform, man. You got to run the leg of the race, man.
From a very flamboyant, and I don't like in the Big L sense, not the other sense, from a crew that could once do it. That's where I would say you feel a little undersold. They could once do it. They didn't do it last night.
Yeah. Word.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, on that note, man, it's good to get back on the boards with y'all, man. Expect more from us, man. We gotta call up the heat makers or something, man.
Oh yeah.
I'm ready.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, this was dope. And guys, as always, check us out on all our streaming platforms on YouTube. Let us know what you think. The winner's clearly obvious. What songs do you think they left out? Does anybody think Dipset won? I don't think no one does. So, but let us know in the comments.
I heard
section.
people trying to say, "Well, LOX didn't win. Jadakiss won." I'm like, Jadakiss is the LOX.
Oh,
so
they tried that.
So I'm like, come on, like, take your L and let's keep it moving. You know.
Oh, that's whack.
I think Dipset, the Dipset hive is like, yeah, Freaky Ziggy, he was a great dancer all night. Okay.
He was
one thing I
yeah.
want to mention. One thing that it was kind of cold blooded. And this goes by how about this being disjointed. You had 40 Cal and J.R. Ryder in the crowd. There.
And Hellwell, I think, too.
Yeah, so you had former Dipset members there that weren't even part of it just because of their issues with Cam, Jim Jones, and so forth. So how would have been if they were part? Because remember, they were part of a lot of the other albums, with
their Dipset run. You heard a lot about them.
Uncasa, Hellrell and Styles P were going at it for a little bit on the side.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot to unpack. All right, and with that said, again, check us out on all our streaming platforms and excuse me. And we'll be back with another episode and when we feel like it. All right.
That's right.
But sooner rather than later.
All right.
Word up.
Peace.
Peace.
Killer.